Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Daily Dose podcast. Today I have on Marcus Fuchs. He has been a very big inspiration for me. I've known that he does all these amazing things overseas. Welcome to the podcast, Marcus.
Thanks, Ryan. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. So, just to start off, everything that you do over there, I know since I've been a kid, I know that you've been doing amazing things overseas. Could you give us a little bit of insight, just a brief overview of what you kind of do or what you're involved with as a company?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I guess call me an entrepreneur. I've worked for big banks and different firms, but I think my core calling is an entrepreneur. So I typically do investment development. I build businesses, usually small, medium-sized businesses, and more recently, I try to take on projects or businesses that drive passions around my interests. But generally speaking, I came to Europe after finishing my master's degree at Queen's, and I went to university because it was kind of what everyone was supposed to do, and I was pretty lost in between high school and university, and so I went and lived in Europe for like a year. And kind of found myself on top of a mountain in Switzerland. And then I came back and did 5 years of university and then was completely lost again. so so I came back to Europe because I found myself here the first time. So I thought I would try that again.
Yep.
When I did again, I did find myself. And I've basically been working between Prague and Dubai. And I've lived on secondment to places like Riyadh and Abu Dhabi and London, England, working with various firms, hedge funds, investment banks, things like that. And I've had a lot of fun. I've been able to travel, to Asia, to Africa, to the Middle East, to South America. So I've been pretty much on every major continent that's on the planet. So it's been a fun experience. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's I guess I got a still bit of a nomadic life, because work, allows me to travel. I like to travel, a little bit less so now, but I still really do enjoy traveling and meeting new people and new cultures.
Mhm. I would definitely say what you highlighted at the beginning, that even though you felt a little bit lost, you still found your way. Like, that's a big thing I find for me and a lot of people that I was surrounded with, that you feel that sense of not knowing after high school. And it's great to see that even someone of where you're at in your life, that you've had that same experience.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I talked to this 10-year-old boy last weekend. He was at a pizza party with my kids, and
Mhm.
he was telling me he was going to be a doctor and he's going to be, 1 or 2 weeks a year. He wants to be a lifeguard, even if he's a doctor. And he was very, very certain. And I said to him, do you know what? I wish I knew what I wanted to be when I grow up. He's a 10-year-old kid who has more certainty than me. I mean, even today, I'm an entrepreneur, and what drives me every day is this pursuit for being better than I was yesterday. Every day, I want to be better than I was yesterday. I used to always try to compare myself to other people, and I was pretty unhappy with that approach to life. And once I figured out that the only person I need to be better than is myself from yesterday, then everything got easy. And I really stopped trying to compare myself to people. And it brings an immense level of confidence and calmness in your approach to people and life. And it really is the way to live. Although you may not have, you may never have certainty in your life. You might never know what you want to really do. You may never find yourself completely. But if you appreciate the journey, it doesn't matter whether you find yourself or not. Because a lot of people, they want to find themselves and figure everything out. And what's the rush? You got your life is long. Life is long, but it moves by quickly. And I think the message I always give to people is to really appreciate the journey around whatever it may be. Whether it's, if you're trying something new and it's really hard, you always want to just give up and just go back to whatever was easy. And if you're not uncomfortable with something you're taking on, then what's the point? You're not learning if you're not uncomfortable. You have to really take uncomfortable action. if you really want to evolve spiritually, mentally, and physically. Every single day, you've got to conquer at least one of those things, or two of those things, or all three of those things.
Well, that's a very interesting point that you make, that the uncomfortable action, that's something that I've came to terms with. I never wanted to do that because it was super uncomfortable. But because now that I have my own version of what that means to me, some people out there might say, why is it worth taking uncomfortable action if I'm always uncomfortable? What would you say to something like that?
Well, I mean, it depends what you mean by uncomfortable action, because I just helped my son assemble an MBot, which is a robot, and you've got to program it, and it's pretty challenging. And he's just about to turn 8 years old, and he gets really, he's a really bright boy, and he just wants to do it immediately and turn it on and play with it, and I let him struggle with the process. And a friend of mine once told me, back in Abu Dhabi, he said that sometimes the best gift you can give somebody is not helping them. And so for me, it was uncomfortable because I'm his father and I just want to do it for him and make him happy, but it's really not the best thing for him, so that's uncomfortable action for me, but it's something that I realize I should do. I don't mean to go out and try to confront people that you're in social situations that create immense uncomfortable feelings, because there may be a reason why you're uncomfortable, and not necessarily embracing everything that's uncomfortable, but things that create challenges in your life that make you better. I mean, those are the sort of uncomfortable actions you're taking, because they're not really going to cause you any kind of trauma, so you got to really understand uncomfortable action. You don't want to really be traumatizing yourself, because that it is just going to set you back. You want to be taking uncomfortable action that will help you evolve as a person. So if you're in a situation where you have a childhood trauma that's coming out when you're meeting somebody, and it's causing you to get angry and have defense mechanisms kick in that are automatic that you really can't control, I wouldn't say that's very productive, uncomfortable action. But if you're going to be interacting with an educational material, like something you've challenged yourself with, like I'm writing books now, and I started a publishing company, and my grade 7 teacher said I shouldn't pass English because I couldn't read and write. She was wrong, because I challenged her in a way that made her lose her temper with me. She was actually fired from the school, but I went through a really bad experience in grade 7 where I was told by a teacher that I was stupid and I couldn't read and write. So I had that trauma from school all those years, and now I'm getting immense satisfaction by publishing books. I have a publishing company. It's a hobby of mine. I'm writing books. But it still really is difficult for me to write and to read. And I think I must have some kind of learning disability that's never been diagnosed, but it is always a struggle. But these days it brings so much enjoyment, because it's by writing, you're learning how to think, and you never stop learning how to think, even as you get older. So the more you write, the more you think, and the more you think, the more you evolve.
Okay. Well, that's honest. Everything that you're talking about relates to a lot of things I'm going through. So with the Ironman, for people that don't know, it's a triathlon. It's one of the longest that I know of anyway, that they have. And for me, there has to be a purpose to why, because the things that you were saying, when you're doing those things that make you uncomfortable, there kind of has to be a perfect purpose that pulls you through, like for yourself. And I know that I have my things that pull me through. So is there something that you kind of formed over time, or did you just kind of have a reason why you pursue these things that make you uncomfortable, but it brings you satisfaction? Because it's kind of
I don't
hard.
really go. I don't really go out and try to see. I don't really try to find things that make me uncomfortable. But ever since I came back from Europe the first time, when I was about 20 years old, when I came back to Canada, and I was really challenged. I climbed a mountain. I never thought I could even do it. I was really in poor physical shape, and I broke these belief systems that I had. It just shattered my belief systems, and And I had been told I had a pretty good marks in high school, but they weren't great. I couldn't get into the top schools. So I went to Brock because my marks were good enough to get into Brock. And I was studying economics, and I was meeting professors that worked under Nobel laureates who told me I was smart. And I never, for the first time in my life, I actually started to believe it. And what I learned was that perseverance and hard work actually drive intelligence. People may be naturally smart. I know people that are naturally smart, but they don't excel in anything because they don't actually work hard. And whenever they get knocked down, they give up. So perseverance and just getting up every day, no matter how bad your previous day was, and say, today is going to be better than yesterday. I'm going to learn more today. I want to be better than who I was. Take one day at a time and just be better than you were yesterday. And no matter what's happening in your life, I mean, I've hit rock bottom, and I've been on the top. And believe me, it happens more often than you realize in life. You're going to go through these cycles. I mean, you got to remember, I think I've lived many lives compared to a lot of people, but you're always going to be going up and down every single day with rock bottom and peaks. And the higher you go in your experiences and the higher you go with your challenges, the bigger they're going to be. And so, and the more traumatic they can be to you. So you really just have to, wake up the next day saying, okay, I'm going to get through this. Nothing can really stop you unless it kills you. So generally speaking, 99% of the things that you're challenging yourself with are not going to kill you. So you might have a perception, or you might have thoughts about that the end, it's all over and it's at the end, but the reality is you're just beginning. And if you take that approach, just work hard and be perseverant. And you're very fortunate, Ryan. You've got the internet. You've got so many resources now at your fingertips, so many podcasts and so many educational materials, so many different ways to learn. Today, you can learn on video. You can learn on audio. You can learn with books. You can have even books read to you. You can watch lectures online from some of the people that have won Nobel prizes and things like that. And when I grew up, my first year university course was, what is Google, this new technology? That was my first year at Brock. I mean, Google was just starting to be used when I started university, and the search algorithms weren't nowhere near they are today. So you're very fortunate to have all those resources at your fingertips. But the main issue that you have with resources is that sometimes you're losing the ability to step back and just take a break and reflect. And I think some people meditate. I was trying meditation. I tried transcendental meditation. I've tried different types of meditation. And I came to realize after listening to a podcast with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's like, yeah, I tried. I'm not going to do his accent. He goes, but I tried meditation. It just didn't work for me. I work out, and that's my meditation. And I lift weights and I lose myself for an hour. And I realized that when I work out, I do really high intensity training for 1 hour nonstop. And when I'm done, it's like my brain resets. And I do it 3 to 5 times a week. Okay. And I continuously reset. So I think you need to reset as much as you can, and with whatever works for you. Some people do yoga, some people do meditation, some people do prayer, they go to church. Whatever works for you is a way to continuously reset, because you're absorbing all this information now, and you forget where you are in the world. And if you can just reset for 1 hour or half an hour, whatever it is, every single day, or 3 to 5 times a week, then at least you have a chance to find clarity.
That's a very good point, especially now. Like, even I know that for me, I had a lot of that where you were talking about how there's so much information, and the next generation growing up with TikTok, and it's even faster, like the amount of material and things that they can see and hear, and definitely being able to get that reset. For me, meditation, I enjoy meditation a lot, and it is finding what you do enjoy. So I know that you have a very busy life, and you said that working out and doing your intensity training that helps you clear your mind. Is there anything else that, because I see that on Facebook you do the baking and you do the cooking and stuff, does that also kind of like a get your brain away from everything? And
Well, I took this course, Course RA. It's like it's an online app. You can do a lot of free courses, and CourseRA.org was the app. It's from a Yale fellow. He built the app, and it's university courses from all around the world that have been kind of put into this app. You can take the course, and I took this course called The Science of Well-Being. It's one of their top courses now, and it's an okay course. I mean, there's a lot of things I didn't agree with it, but there's a lot of things I agreed with it. And one thing I found was with well-being, to find happiness, and there's different. I mean, I think I found happiness now. I mean, I'm still working on it, but one of the things that brings me happiness on a daily basis are small wins. So if I'm not having such a great day and I don't feel like I'm winning today, I want to have a small win, something really, really simple. And sometimes I just bake a loaf of bread and hope to God it turns out okay. But it's pretty easy to bake bread, and I was experimenting with sourdough, and I have my own mother, and I do a lot of fermentation. I was really into fermentation over the last few years. I make my own apple cider and vinegar,
wow.
and I make my own alcohols as well, like brandies and things like that. But generally speaking, if I can get a small win when I'm not having a great day, it just turns the whole day right around for me. And so if you can just focus on small wins, one win a day or two wins a day, whatever it is, helping somebody or serving somebody or just going out and finding something that you recognize as a real win, then that's, I think, really helpful. And I think the well-being side of it is that you really have to pay attention when you're making bread. You can't skip steps, and you really have to go through the fermentation process. You've got to wait for the yeast to work. So it actually forces you to kind of stop and focus on the task at hand. And I think if you're having a bad day, you're probably caught up in the moment of that negative mindset. So I think it helps reset the mind. And then when the baking comes out, I put it on Facebook because I think I drive my friends crazy by sending them pictures of loaves of bread. So I'll drive everyone else crazy on Facebook with my pictures of baking. And the other thing that I built was a pizza oven. And so I made my own pizza oven because I didn't want to spend $5,000 on a pizza oven. So for about $100, I made my own pizza oven. And then I started baking pizza in my own oven with my own wood from my own forest that I own. And just sitting in there in my yard at my farm. I got a farm down here in the southern part of the country, and just having the wood. It takes 3 hours to make 3 to 4 hours to cook a pizza, cook dinner for my family. It drives my wife crazy because literally, like from about 1 o'clock until 5 o'clock, I'm cooking dinner.
Uh-huh.
I might have a beer every now and then. I don't really drink much anymore, but I'll have a beer while I'm doing it, and I'm just so relaxed after the whole experience. So for me, little wins like that, but making that pizza oven was one of the best experiences of my life, and studying it and measuring it and going through the whole process, making things and doing things like even labor intensive things, even the small wins, like when I'm at my farm property and I'm stacking hay and I'm rolling up the hay on my property and things like that. 30, 40 minutes a day, 3 or 4 weeks throughout the summer, I'm just stacking hay. And the neighbors are like, "Oh, I've got a machine. I can roll it all up. You can have it all done in an hour." And I'm like, "No, it's fine." I know. And I'm just, every day I go up there, I walk around and I got my land and I just putter about, and I work at my office and then I go out for 30, 40 minutes to an hour, putter about, come back, and then I'm completely reset. So
That's one thing. I'm in a course currently, and that's one thing that my mentor coach always talks about. He's like, you always focus on your wins and focus on doing what makes you happy during the day, because it really does reset you, and it helps you to stay in that mindset of keep moving forward.
But
that's
don't
something.
but don't be disappointed by failure or if it doesn't work. Like I used to beat myself up, like, oh man, I should have done that better, or damn, I screwed that up. I made such a mistake and that cost me money, and I used to be really, really critical of myself. And be careful with guilt because guilt is part of our culture, especially in Canada.
Mhm.
You make yourself feel guilty all the time for the silliest things, and you need to let go of it and just say that didn't work, and you got to kind of chill out with it. You just can't, like, if you don't get a win that day, I didn't get a win today. Okay, I had a bad day. You will have bad days. You may not be able to turn it around, and you can't beat yourself up about it. You can't be hard on yourself. You just have to say, okay, that was a bad day. And the best part is I get to go to sleep and I get to wake up and I got a brand new day to start all over again. And but you got to be really careful with guilt. Guilt is a really, really powerful cultural anomaly that exists in our culture, especially in Canada, in Christian-based culture specifically. It's a driving tool of Jordan Peterson talks about it a little bit. It's a driving tool of the religion.
Mm.
I've even written, which has been published in the Canadian Congress Library. One of my thesis at university was the medieval church as an economic institution and how they monetize sin in the form of purgatory. And essentially, at one point in the 13th and 14th century, they started to make money by in using guilt and sin as a way to extract value from people to donate money to the church to feel better about the sins that they were creating. So
Wow.
it's a very, very strong element of our culture, especially in North America and in Western Europe, Central and Eastern Europe as well. But it is a very, very powerful thing, guilt. So be very careful with it because it takes you over sometimes.
Yes, I can definitely relate to that. And just piecing those together, I mean, some things I've learned in the Sapiens book, they talk about religion, just how you had said it too, how they almost monetized it back way back when. And that is a great point to note that stepping back from it and seeing that sometimes it isn't you or it isn't you that the guilt, because I know that a lot of people get caught up in feeling bad, including myself, about things that are very trivial during your days. What is it like where you are, the like the culture towards that? Is it like what, like you were saying, over here is different than where you are for guilt
Well,
wise?
Prague was the capital of the Holy Roman Empire at one point for about 45 years. So it was the epicenter of the Christianity. I mean, it was the capital of Christianity
Hmm.
at one point. When you come here, you have cathedrals and basically monasteries, and it is an epicenter for what was once the heartland of Christianity, and also the Reformation. A big part of the Reformation originated here through Jan Hus, who led the Hussite Revolution. I'm not a historical expert, but Jan Hus was before the Lutherans, and so you also have the beginnings of the Reformation and occurring here. So you have the breakup of the church because of the opulence that developed from it. So, but during communism here, it really broke down a lot of the institutions, the historical institutions that were here, and it really eroded away a lot of the aspects of the culture here. And so this atheism is still a big portion of the population in the big cities.
Hmm.
When you get out into the areas where Saint Methodius is buried, where our farm is, it becomes a lot more religious. But the religion here, it's not like the Pentecostal religions that you have in America, where it's very devout and very over the top. It's much more relaxed here. But again, I kind of live in a bubble. I'm not really the best person to comment on it. I don't really go out and engage. I'm generally learning or reading or trying to be better every day.
Yeah.
But it is. I find it to be a very practical culture here. That's what I like. My wife is Czech, and I like living here because I find them to be very practical people, realists to some degree. Sometimes they're a bit too cynical, but I do like living here. But I find that the culture here is a lot older than it is in Canada.
Okay.
So there's a lot of mechanisms in the culture that you can kind of connect with and relate to. Whereas in Canada, you're sort of on this journey of trying to find things that don't exist, and you have to create them in Canada. Whereas here, the history and the events and the I guess the markets and things like that, everything's sort of connected to the past, and there's even traditions here that they've been doing every year, pretty much going back hundreds of years. We just had our anniversary of our village, 750-year-old anniversary of our village, and a city not too far from us just had their anniversary, 1,000-year anniversary that it's been there as a city. So it's a very old culture here, and they've gone through some pretty big wars. They've gone through occupations with the Austro-Hungarians, with the French, with the Germans. They've experienced a lot in life, and they really they carry that. You can feel it in the culture here. Sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes it's not. So,
All right. Well, as we start to wrap up here, I know we got a little bit of a time. You're much different time zone. Is there anything else that you'd kind of want to say about what you do for your work, and or anything that you would say you would want to tell younger people to? I know that you've said a lot about just going and taking action and being your best self. Is there anything you'd like to add?
yeah, I mean, if you want to be successful in life, I mean, yeah, I think you have to be focused, but find what you're passionate about, like what really deeply drives your passion, and focus on it. And don't worry about what it is. If it's art or whatever it's going to be, just focus on it, because you will find a way to be successful in that field. And it really doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what kind of education or background you have. Find what it is that you truly want and what you're passionate about, and the rest will take care of it. You have to work incredibly hard. You may have to sacrifice a lot to get there. The one good thing about going to school is it does teach you how to teach yourself. And in a very, I mean, the one great thing about going to university for me was it taught me how to teach myself. And I didn't have to rely on other people to teach me. But these days, the internet now allows you sort of to do that. But I still encourage people to go to school to develop the methodologies that school teach you. But if you find that you've already found your passion, the hardest part is finding your passion. But once you find it, and you dig deep, you will be successful. And then you have to define success. What is successful for you? Some people find monetary success as a form of success, or spiritual success, or physical or mental success. You really need to define what it is. If it's all of that encompassed, because once you start digging in deep and you start to find your passions, people will jump into your lives to try to pull you in directions. And if you really have a pathway towards success, you have to decide what it is that makes you happy. I found happiness, I could say last year, like what really makes me deeply happy. I mean, I have elements of happiness through my life, but what really makes me deeply happy is helping people be better than they were before, helping them, giving them the resources, sharing them the experiences that I've gotten, or educating them, or putting them in touch with people that can help them. I really get immense happiness. Like I'm publishing books right now, and I'm helping people find a voice in their publications. It doesn't matter whether they sell the books or not. It's just giving them the resources and the ability to find their voices because they want this outlet. So for me, it's really the key is just follow your passion. But if you can't find your passion, then just continuously explore and just try to learn something every day by being better than yesterday. And if and with some luck, you might actually find what it is that drives your passion. And you may never find your passion. I know people that are in their 80s, 84-year-old guy that I know, and he still doesn't know what his real passion is. And so he's a very knowledgeable, very intelligent person. But I'm surprised that he's lost still at 84 years old.
Mm.
I just find it mind-boggling that, wait a minute, I thought you're supposed to have it all figured out,
Uh,
and I'm like, I think I figured it out more than you, but I don't want to judge and be critical because maybe he has figured it out and then lost himself again. I don't know. I mean, I'm not 84, but I really do feel that I'm very fortunate because of the experiences that I've had, that I'm continuously finding ways to be happier every day. And I'm continuously finding ways to gain knowledge and learn new things. And I don't really need to share it with anybody anymore, but I get immense happiness by helping people. And when you serve and you give and you love, you will be successful with whatever you do. And I think you really just serve, give, and love, and support all those people around you, and focus on yourself and just being better. And that's the key to life. And for me, anyway, that's the key to life for me. So
those were very good points to wrap up the video. I really do appreciate you coming on, and there's a lot of things that I can take away, and anyone that's watching can take away from this. I really do appreciate you coming on, Marcus.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoy. We'll see you in the next one.